Greetings and welcome back, everyone. This is Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm Garrett Weinzierl, and you know who's here. You know who's sitting across the internet from me. You know him. You love him. You like to listen to me talk about how handsome he is. He's Kyle Fergusson.
What an introduction. Hell yeah.
We had a good week this week. Dude, we had a good week. Outside of Into the Nexus, you and I have been grinding it out. We resurrected the AMove TV YouTube, which you can check out over at youtube.com/AMove TV. We hadn't been using it for a while because podcasts don't work well on YouTube. And we've been grinding it out for about 2 months now, uploading a video game news video once a week. We call it Nexus Gaming News. You heard us kind of start to experiment with it right here on this podcast feed. It's now on its own feed, but we've also been putting a lot more effort onto the YouTube side of things for that project. And this week we had one of our uploads. It took off. I'm feeling good this week, man. We were like getting 400, 500 views. We're like, okay, it's growing steadily. We do a weird video about a spooky train, and suddenly we're past 10,000 in over 20 hours. It was delightful.
Yeah, Choo Choo Charles. People are excited about that game, apparently, and not a lot of coverage on it. So by chance, we did a Halloween episode, breaking from our more perhaps somber news. It's been great. It's been a great project over there. Really do encourage everybody to check out Nexus Gaming News, as well as enjoy Into the Nexus, because we split that off. Because frankly, that Blizzard story, it has not slowed down. It has not stopped. And I'm very happy
we need to do a follow-up.
This show is not the Blizzard Report on Sadness show.
Yeah, we need to do a follow-up. It's not all sad though. I mean, we're getting an incubus to parody our succubus out of it, and I think that's pretty rad.
That's true. That's true.
Like, new demon models is a net positive as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I've been yelling equal opportunity sexiness on social media for a while, so that's exactly what giving me a male demon is.
It's already happened in Heroes. We're ahead of our time.
Are you talking about Malfurion's wonderful pectoral muscles or Lumberjack Uther's wonderful pectoral muscles?
So many. You got Lumberjack Uther, you got Hanzo, you got Tychus.
I always forget about Hanzo. I think it's the isometric view. It doesn't really show off Hanzo's greatest features.
I think Speedo Tychus is really kind of the tip of the spear when it comes to leading the charge for sexiness in Heroes of the Storm. I mean, we didn't.
It is certainly the tip of something. That's for sure.
It didn't last long enough, though. We didn't get Sexy Variant. I'd love for this to come back, of course, but I do think Heroes is pretty darn awesome.
Yeah. How do we not have a Sexy Rainer? Like, how do we not have like Beach Rainer to hang out with Beach Tychus? That's just how has that not happened? Rainer's got the gun with the knife at the end too. You could go not sexy with that and put him in like a wetsuit, like he's a spear diver. He's going spear fishing.
And we did get all concerned about silhouettes there for a bit. That kind of went away after a while. I mean, he's still got really big arms, cartoonishly buff arms. So that might be a thing.
Maybe that's something you could play off of. Maybe. Anyways, we got a good show today. We're going to talk about where the meta has settled now that we've had a brand new patch for a full week. Let's see what's I'm going to eat some humble pie today, Kyle. I really am.
Oh.
A little bit.
Just a little slice.
A little bit. Just because win rate is up doesn't mean I think the hero's fun to play. We'll get more on that.
Okay, more on that. What we're talking about.
Yeah, more on that later. But what's been going on with you, buddy?
I got to do some subbing this week for my Nexus Gaming Series group. That's Boogan Forever. So I signed up as a sub for them when we failed to register in time for NGS this Here's the Storm season. Division A, so same division as it was. And I was playing assassin / off lane for them, as opposed to usually just strictly off lane for the likes of Cavalier Guest. So we did a big practice session. We got all warmed up. We were talking about how we were going to trade around the draft. I could early pick something, then switch off. We could get weird. I was like the secret weapon because they didn't know I was going to be there that night kind of thing, because I haven't subbed in so far this season. And we got completely destroyed. Oh my God. This team was an absolute different class. They were amazing. And my poor team I sub for hopefully will still have enough points to go to the playoffs. But frankly, we did not stand a chance.
I'm glad it's not just me when I show up and sub and we get rolled.
No, I mean, granted, like, you've been there for some subs where it's like, okay, maybe like communication and there's like some teamwork that's missing. And you kind of feel that in those sort of games. And as the sub, you're like, man, I wish I had done better.
I feel like I've experienced the gamut, the full spectrum of experiences by subbing for you. I've experienced quite a bit of it.
This was definitely of the extreme of like, wow, this isn't my fault. This enemy team is just so well coordinated, such good wombos, such amazing off lane play that in order to rotate someone up would be too taxing. So you end up breaking even, but they're breaking even compared to what's happening in the 4-man. Like it was just messy. And I'm very proud of my Hogger. My Tychus got completely outpoked. So it's like, what could I have done? It's not my fault. At least I take comfort in that. It could have been my fault. Bugin might be talking about me and being like, Kyle, but
they're listening right now going, nope, that was your fault.
They need that was your fault. I'm there for them. I'm as the sub, I'm willing to accept that pressure. If it eases your burden, put it all on me.
Well, that's something you should keep in the back of your mind when you are subbing. Like if you sub and you lose horribly, you should take comfort in the fact that at least I gave them an easy out for blame. At least the other 4 are probably a little more relaxed. They can go, it's just the newbie.
Exactly.
It's just that damn sub. It's not us.
The person I sub for, they're like, well, I mean, when I get back, I'll be better than Kyle. And it's just going to be great. However, I do have a big complaint about the game right now, Garrett.
Oh, okay. Yes. Hit me.
This is a legacy complaint, if you will. This is something that needs updated in the game for longevity, for the health and sanity of all. I've come to hate the Braxis music.
Okay. Why? What's wrong with
the? Not because it's all tyranny. I like the usual, rhythm that it's got, like the Terran vibe. But there's that point when the pads come up where it goes ba-dum 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 bum 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 ba-dum 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 bum 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 ba-dum ba-dum. And depending on how long that phase lasts, that music phase, particularly in like an NGS sphere where you're playing in a coordinated environment, goes way too long.
I think we're finding out how much I listen to podcasts while I play Heroes of the Storm right now.
Oh my God, you monster. Sound cues are so important.
I have the sound up pretty high, but I think I damn near turned the music off at this point. So that I don't have too many conflicting sounds going on.
It's a serious issue. And I could really use this addressed. It's like instead of just the final lap of Mario Kart where it goes faster in the music, imagine it progressively got faster each time you did a lap, and just how insane you would feel by the end of that thing.
I don't think we'll ever have a reason to have my wife Katie on. But the next time you talk to her, ask her about the Christmas box at Target, which she worked at in high school.
Okay, yeah. I'm getting a vibe.
It's a big present hanging over the entrance of Target. She worked the food court, so she was right by the entrance, and it was motion activated to play one of 3 Christmas songs anytime someone entered the store.
Oh,
yeah. Hearing if you now, Katie actually is about as vulgar as you and I when we're not on podcasts, so I would say it's not that hard to hear Katie cuss. But if you want to like summon a Katie cuss, ask her about that, because the way she tells that story, it's hilarious. I could hear that story a million times more.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot of maps in rotation. It's not quite at that level. It's more like one bad song in the retail rotation. And you've memorized the retail rotation. It's about like 4.5 hours long.
That's why I don't like
twice. Your shift's almost over.
That's why I don't like Train. That Hazel Sister song was top 40 when I worked retail last.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like Black Eyed Peas, because I think they had like 3 But tonight's going to be a good night. If I ever hear that song again, I think it will trigger me to become a mass murderer. Yeah, there's a few like that. It's also why I like Lady Gaga, because in the mix of that, it was like, oh, Bad Romance. This is actually a really well-made song. So there you have it. Going to date myself there, in case you're wondering the last time I worked a retail job. But good to know. Dude, next time I'm on Braxis, I'm going to crank the music as loud as I possibly can now, and I'm going to study it. And and if I agree with you, I apologize, because if I do, I think we're just going to need to make an essay on how the repeat of that music is so poor.
I think, we've banged a lot of drums here on Into the Nexus over the years about who needs a rework and what sort of aspects of the game might need to change. This is number one for me. Absolutely number one. The funny thing going on right now is a lot of the Heroes of the Storm audience and MOBA players are playing Pokemon Unite right now. And it's really funny to hear them go to that game and go, wait a minute, I miss Quick Match. Oh my God, here's a game mode where I quickly queue up and I have to select inside what hero I want to play, what Pokemon I'm going to play. And I just want to play X. Oh my God, I missed Quick Match.
Dude, yeah. I can't believe you're going to make me say this. We're harsh on Quick Match. We're real harsh. But damn if it's not arguably the most unique thing about Heroes of the Storm. There's a lot of unique things about Heroes of the Storm, but it's been a long time since I've revisited Dota. But going back to Dota, it's just but I miss Quick Match.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and that was definitely the case. I bounce off of bounced off of Unite pretty quick, and I think that's part of it. It's I just wanted to fine-tune my Pikachu, and I couldn't. And
now you could. You could. There's other hotter Pokemon in there now, so Pikachu's pretty free.
But I want to fine-tune the hot Pokemon.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That's a sliding. That's a constantly moving target, man.
That's true.
See, it wouldn't be. Maybe it won't be Pikachu when I get in right now, and it sounds like it wouldn't be. Wouldn't be. I could be absolutely convinced to go back. Unite's a solid game. It's a solid game. I just, you're really the only friend playing it, and our schedules can only sync up so many times a week.
Oh, it's also just a bizarre game, and it's highlighting. It's part of a really interesting trend in streaming right now, and in general, streaming is a bizarre thing right now. There's the big leak from Twitch going on where
can you believe millionaires are millionaires, Kyle?
I can't believe it.
I can't believe that the people I knew that were millionaires are indeed millionaires.
That's a fascinating social experiment, is basically what everyone in the audience who gave money was basically saying. They're just like me. They're out there struggling. They're working that 9 to 5. I'm going to throw them some money. Wait a minute. They're millionaires? They don't need my help. What have I done? What is this? I'm so hurt inside, is an interesting aspect of it that some are experiencing. Another aspect of it that I find really fascinating is length of game. Pokemon Unite, despite its 25 million player base, is not a good streaming game because the games are too short. By the time you show up and get invested as a viewer, you go, oh, it's over. My investment didn't have a big reward in it. I watched this person struggle, and then it came down to one big moment, then it's done. Whereas Here's the Storm, you show up mid-game, you might be like, hey, what's going on? What's the state of the game? Look at that score. Look at that enemy team. You kind of start putting pieces together. You got a good 15 minutes to kind of follow the journey. Pokemon Unite's just a short. It's over too quickly for a streaming audience to really dig. And I'm having an interesting aspect on my stream right now, where my stream audience will be cut in half if I pick Hanzo.
What? Are they just sick of watching you play Hanzo?
To an extent, they're sick of streamers playing Hanzo, right? So Castia, not working in every situation. I'm currently Diamond 3. I've, slowly fallen down over the last 3 weeks. I've been having a really good time just being whimsical and just being, I'm going to let Quick Match Nazeebo this ranked game, and I might play a little Zul'jin. I'm just a wanderer, and I love playing Mephisto. I think Mephisto is tons of fun. You can draft to stop the early pick being an issue, but there's still things that are going to get through, like Chromie if you overdraft Mephisto counter or ban Mephisto counters, you're going to end up with a Dahak over there. It's just not a good early pick. And it's something that gets blamed a lot because people go, oh, I didn't understand what that Mephisto was doing, and the number's not top. I'm angry. I'd be mad at Mephisto. So there's this wonderful hero, Garrett, you may have heard of them, who I accidentally over time, via Hogger as well as just Battlefield of Eternity, put work into him. And his name is Hanzo. And if I want to go back to Masters right now, I would probably just spam Hanzo games because I've gotten decent at it and I could be a little better. Like, I'm winning and I don't feel like I'm that great. It's that perfect storm of like, yeah, here comes the main. But honestly, 100%, I'll be sitting there, look at my stream numbers, pick Hanzo, look back over, half of the people have checked out. And I do not blame them because everywhere you go, you're probably going to see Hanzo play, and certainly not like half-baked Hanzo play that I'm presenting at the moment.
I guess I can understand that, man. I don't really consume too much Heroes content, and if I did, I would have no interest in watching a Hanzo be played.
Yeah,
but I mean, that's a difficulty I think at any MOBA though, right? Like, do you only watch players that play heroes you like? Is that why Fan is so popular? Because dude is just all over the place.
Very much so. Much like the previous situation with the people wanting to watch streamers and they go, oh, they're just like me. I love them. People want to see the heroes they like playing on stream. And there might also be an aspect of that, like, I hate fighting Hanzo and I don't want to see this. I don't want to see you become what I hate.
It's why StarCraft was so great, because there were only 3 options.
Yeah, there were builds you could do, right? But yeah.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, who do I play? It's a good chance I'm going to play those heroes or watch those streamers that play the race that I play as. I know it's certainly the case for me. As I'm going to went
and
from
such a crazy investment too. Like, they go and balance Zerg. A Zerg main is not going to immediately react by changing up their race entirely in that game.
Yeah, that's no, not at all. So, anyways, before we get into kind of where the patch is right now, we want to thank some folks, specifically the folks supporting us on Patreon. We have a Patreon. It's over at patreon.com/ITN. And got a couple folks to thank this week. First off, Alex M is our newest patron. Thank you, Alex, very much for signing up and becoming a patron. And also thank you to Trolls U for more than doubling their pledge. Been a patron for a while. Decided to go update their pledge. They more than doubled the darn thing. I noticed it and just want to say thank you. That means a lot to us. It's effectively like giving us a raise.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah. So thank you very, very much. We're on a little bit of a hot streak, Kyle. I'd like to see if we could keep it going. Had a new patron, I think, every week for like 3 weeks. Got some people in chat room like wanting to see an episode of Into the Nexus where we just drink. Maybe we can celebrate a hot streak of a full month of a new patron every week.
I mean, we do have an episode 400 coming up. Not that I'm making any promises as to what we're going to do about it.
If we combine drinking with a 400th episode of a podcast, it might be bad. That's monumentous. That's monumentous.
I've been feeling intensely nostalgic about Here's the Store, mainly because I went to our very channel we were talking about there, youtube.com/AMoveTV, and that has all my old VODs from 2014 in it. And I sat down and I watched some like bare bones Heroes of the Storm Uther play with like the devotion icon there, the old Hammer of Justice picture, the really, really bad UI. Like, oh, that original UI. It seemed acceptable at the time because it was 2014. But looking back on it, ooh, Here's the Storm release kind of ugly.
The UI was not pretty.
No.
2.0 was a very welcome update. Very welcome. Like, yeah. It's pretty wild. Anyways, if you like our show, you like what we're doing here, you want to support the two of us, we are not millionaires, as evidenced by
the Twitch
links. Not even on the list, Kyle. Not even on the list. Yeah, check out patreon.com/ITN, get access to our Discord, get an ad-free version of the podcast, and you can join us for our monthly game nights. And we're actually going to do one a little earlier this month. We're going to be doing our next Bonanza next week, our next Patron Bonanza, where we get together Thursday evening and play Heroes of the Storm games with you fine folks. And yeah, so if you're a patron or you become a patron, head on over to patreon.com/ITN and look for the Patron Bonanza sign-up sheet. You can pick your time slot. We'll bring you in. We'll play a game of Heroes of the Storm. Have a good time. And the whole thing's streamed. So come hang out and have a good night with us. So other than that, Kyle, there's not really quote-unquote news this week, so let's just get right into it. What the hell has happened to the Heroes of the Storm meta? Because it seems to have switched up a decent amount as a result of the new patch. Mostly, I'm curious, why the hell is Illidan up?
Well, that's an interesting story. And we can theorize at this point because we're only 1 month or 1 week away from that patch. A lot of the previous up-and-comers are still up and going at it. So Gazlo knocked down. Across the leagues, Gazlo got knocked down because that base kit business. Not a huge effect on like NGS or any of our sort of high league play, but that was a little barrier to entry to some things like Tracer and Kerrigan from just being at the top. And now they're climbing again. And with their help, we're entering a dive meta. And because dive gets bad, Ana gets bad, mages get bad. And what do mages bring? CC. And what do divers like? Well, they like making sure their attacks actually hit because you're usually running into a bunch of people. So auto attackers get better. Auto attackers get good. Mages with CC disappear, dealing spell damage as well. Diving. Illidan meta. I present you.
Okay. So it's just a dive good equal Illidan?
Dive good. There's a little bit of, throwing the bones in there as people go, oh man, I miss playing Illidan. What? That felt good. Ooh, I'll do that again sometime.
That felt impactful.
Exactly. And in the sort of meta, like Mephisto does do a little better because he can survive that dive. He has some wiggle room and he's not CC based. So there are those mages that will survive. Nazeebo, of course, has his trickery. Asmodan, if you even want to call him a mage. But a lot of these heroes are on their way out. As for why this started exactly, I'm not really sure. I'm currently not sure why we've entered such a dive meta, because in my experience, in my own home games, it just varies wildly between extreme poke or dive, which might also make sense. Like the way you stop them from diving, if you have a squishy line, is just to have constant barrages of stuff. And basically the siege tank lineup of like, don't step here. If you possibly step in any of these zones, you will explode. And we go, okay, we won't dive. And then they get locked out. So it's an arms race right now between poke and dive seems to be winning.
Okay, gotcha. So like, where did Kael'thas end up? Okay,
I really enjoyed playing him this last week. I think
so Kael'thas is up, fun. But if we recall last week, he was a bottom 10 hero. So he's up, but not even to middle of like the bad pack, I would say. He's still not above a 50% win rate on HOTS logs. So it helped, but it appears not enough.
No. And you need trickery in order to survive this, because we're also seeing things like Kira go up and Valera, and of course Maiev, who got some new toys, granted still at 49% and the like.
Well, Maiev has crested 50%, just sitting at a 51% win rate, has gone up 2% since the latest patch.
But who has trickery in the mage slot? If you even want to think of them as mages, you got Mephisto, but of course, Nazeebo. Nazeebo is now fully eating the lunch that was left over from the Gazlo, and is becoming mage number 1 again.
Gotcha. Well, Mephisto was on top to begin with, and he's rising, even though he didn't get messed with, did he?
No, just by nature of having trickery and being left alone in this case.
Yep. A sinking tide keeps already beached ships where they were?
Yes, not quite as elegant as I think the alternative saying, but yes.
I'm trying to think of how I retrofit that.
But idiom. I mean, to back the, I can, this can be, freaky news, night news, local news kind of style. But I can look at these stats and make any story you want, of course, because that's how you can use stats.
Well,
but I could look at the story right now and say, hey, Whitemane going up near 5%. She's got a great emergency button. First dive. Malfurion going up doesn't really match my theory. Doesn't really match the storyline.
Well, they dive and he silence. Depending on who the dive is. If the dive is Imperious and the spear is on Malfurion.
True. But if you're Malfurion, you're thinking they dive me, this is a horrible place. But it might also be exactly what you say. We're entering like a lower CC dive. Therefore, Malfurion can hit his button. More likely what's happening is leaves are really good on Illidans and Tracers because you go, here you go, I'm done with you for a while. Go do your business, and you don't have to be in range of me.
Yeah. Brightwing down horribly as a result of her nerfs. Yeah. I'm trying to think of, is there anyone who was nerfed and hasn't been horribly dethroned?
Well, and that'll be our big report next week when we look at the actual more stat numbers. This is sort of the developing story at the moment. We need more numbers. We're still dealing with Anduin, super popular, near 2,000 games. That's decent data. But if we're looking at Whitemane here, and we've got 250. We're gonna have to collect a little more data to know this story. But if you are at home and you're thinking, what should I play right now? Definitely take yourself in the direction of that dive. Things like Stitches still doing well, but you'd be better off just bringing in a Nubarak right now. And that's a different environment to be in.
Yeah, Nubarak's doing quite well, but again, has been doing well, and kind of by virtue of being left alone, has come to the top. Not to mention, dive. Who dives better than a Nubarak?
While still providing the tank job along the way, right? I'd say Judge Materials, amazing dive.
To the lowest possible definition of providing the tank job, yes.
Exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
Right there. A Nubarak is the minimum viable product for tanking. At least minimal viable health pool, maybe, is what we go with for a Nubarak there. But all right. Zul, doing great. Valera, low games played, but apparently doing damn well. All right, here it is. Time for me to eat humble pie. Let's go ahead and sort by who's climbed the most, who has seen the greatest increase of win rate. Not necessarily the highest win rate, but the greatest increase of their win rate in the past week. Valera at number 1 with a meteoric 9% rise to a almost 57% win rate. We'll see if that holds as more games come in. But right underneath Valera, Zagara. Zagara has gone up 8% to a 54% win rate. I spent last week basically saying, why bother? You've ruined the hero.
And I presented you with a build that we actually tried during our Bonanza there, which frankly did awful.
Yes, however, that does appear to be the way some folks are leaning, with two very key differences in what you had brought up. So you had put forward the auto attack Zagara build. And folks are doing that. They are just, however, not taking Baneling talents at 1 and 7, which is what you had suggested. You suggested just sticking with Volatile Acid, sticking with Baneling Massacre. Folks are not doing that. Folks are going Corpse Feeders, and folks are going Bile Drop on 1 and 7. They're doing this auto attack Zagara with a side of roaches.
What's really fascinating about this, to me anyway, is that they're doing Hydralisk Transfusion, but they've got that Corrosive Saliva, which
I don't know if they're going to keep doing that, however, because if we look at the win rates, yes, Hydralisk Transfusion at 13 has by far the biggest pick rate right now. Again, it's only been a week of data, but it has a flat 50% win rate. Protective Coating, Only 20% of Zagara players are taking it. It's 62% win rate. You mentioned these creep talents, which I hate. I cannot stand the design of these talents. But they are, at 13 and 16, both Protective Coating and Jagged Barbs, the highest win rate talents.
I'm not at all surprised to see Corrosive Saliva be the way they go after taking these early Baneling talents, of course. But I did have hope that perhaps Jagged Barbs would let Zagara be that auto attacker. The fascinating thing was, in that particular game as well, you performed damage-wise just as good as any Rainer did, and I'd say you had just as much impact as any Rainer did. However, we were still Rainer at the end of the day.
I was about to say, yes, let's deconstruct that. You were saying I am a inherently average, impactful hero. Rainer is not impactful. Zagara, when trying really hard, can be as impactful as Milquetoast Rainer.
And that's exactly how I felt last night when I was playing Mephisto and I had to fight a Tassadar. I'm out here juggling 7 balls in the air, and people are just throwing money at the feet of a simple guitarist. And I guess they can do the rift, perhaps. Yes, they've played, School of Rock or whatever it's called, but I'm out here working hard.
Boy, okay, I'm just going to set aside all of my musical nerddom and just move straight ahead and go, yes, Kyle,
you know what
I followed
they're
everything.
in the
and
lunchroom and they do the and they could all do it and everyone would just gather around to listen to that one riff. But I'm talking about like 15 years old, Looking back, easily impressed 15s.
It was Blink-182 at our school. Everyone knew how to play Blink-182.
Yeah. Undeserved confidence, I say.
Yes. It got me a few dates.
My sweet Super Smash skills did not. So you win.
Oh, I had those too. Well, you know what it really comes down to. You just don't have a chance to show off your Super Smash skills at high school. Maybe now you do.
At school.
Maybe now you do.
Mobile games.
Your sweet Twitch stream goes viral in the local lunchroom.
The real success of mobile games is being able to show off your rank at the lunch table.
Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. So I have to eat some humble pie with Zagara, but as I kind of teased at the top of the show, I don't think she's fun to play. I don't find it fun. But anyways, so we mentioned Valeria, we mentioned Zagara. Hogger's done a ton of climbing since the latest patch. As has Zarya, who saw some buffs. Zarya hasn't quite crested 50% win rate, but major improvement over where she was. So the Zarya buffs are certainly looking like they are working as intended. But then we kind of get into our heroes who have been left the hell alone, but by virtue of a lot of other strong heroes being taken down a notch or two, or have climbed, like Illidan, like White Mane we've mentioned, but also Medivh, Zul, and Alarak are up quite a bit since last week.
Interesting. Medivh makes sense with the dive.
Zul makes sense by fact of we have nerfed every solo laner horribly, basically, over the past year. They've come for Rexxar, Sonya, Gazlo, Hogger.
Diva had her auto attacks reined in.
Yep. What solo laner have they not beat with a nerf bat?
Dahaka.
Zul.
I mean, that's
Zul and Dahaka.
The big one.
Yeah, and Zul. So I think that's kind of what we're seeing here with Zul. I would imagine, if I had to come up with a YouTube thumbnail headline, it would be Gazlo out, Zul in. I think that's where a lot of the Gazlo players are going.
I think so too. You've got that kind of ease of use summons idea going with it. Ragnaros is also up a bit. I'm surprised Thrall hasn't climbed at all. In fact, gone down near 2% after getting at least some talents updated in that way. And
I left last week's episode agreeing with Chatroom that his wave clear is so poor, none of that mattered. And it appears to have been the case that none of that mattered because Thrall's gone nowhere.
Well, and your rel's down 5%, which I know we're talking to 2.3% of players here. But oh my God, poke meta, which is high damage, poke, or dive meta, doesn't really matter, and Yrel's suffering in there, and you have this kind of complicated lane clear business where you have to spend a lot of spells and quite a bit of mana. Her kit design is not going to succeed in what we seem to be cooking up right here.
I'm sorry, Kyle. Welcome to my world.
It's okay.
Yeah. So I'm feeling Zuli this week. I'll say that much. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still getting in there, and I'm trying to make peace with the new Zagara. It's just so tedious. It feels very, very tedious. Like all I want to do is land auto attacks, and Zagara just doesn't have a particularly satisfying auto, I think, is what I've really landed at. It's a slow projectile, and it's like, I don't know, when you compare it to someone like a Raynor, who you've been comparing it to. Raynor has such a satisfying auto attack. When that lands, you know it landed. You're completely aware of what just happened.
Well, I was hooking you up with hopefully something you might enjoy in the bonanza there, a new Sylvanas build.
Yeah, I mean, I'm aware of the wave stack build. I think it was a level 1 was the only thing that I hadn't traditionally been taking. I do like Sylvanas.
Let me break this down for anyone who hasn't heard about this, because it's got a really cool gameplay loop to it, and you use mind control not for mind control, which I think is the really exciting thing about it. So level 1, you do Might of the Banshee Queen, which you may have read before, but gives auto attack speed and spell power up 25%. Hold on to that. You're not going to do a full spell power build. You're taking advantage of that auto attack speed. Possession, sure, some map dependency, but possession. Then you're going to go Festering Wounds for that instant 3 stacks. We're all super familiar with this when it came to like stacking daggers. But what you're trying to do is get to 3 stacks as fast as possible. And that'll come up in a moment, which is why you use Mind Control as well. Mind Control shoots that missile. Enemies hit by it are silenced, slowed, and walk towards you. But it instantly puts them at 3 stacks. And on such a short cooldown, you use it just for the stacks, because Remorseless at level 13. Increase Sylvanas' basic attack range by 1. Sylvanas' basic attacks against heroes with 3 stacks of Banshee's Curse shoot an untalented Withering Fire, which is untalented, but is increased by 25%. And you have 25% attack speed, and you're putting them at 3 instantly via maybe your Festering Wounds, but also this Mind Control. And the burst damage that comes out of your auto attack speed, which would be sustained, but also those Withering Fires, plus the Withering Fire button that you're also pressing manually, is rather insane. Then you grab up Will of the Forsaken, not really for the Unstoppable in this meta, just for movement speed so you can pursue. And you kind of play like Tracer now. You're just constantly zooming around. You have the movement speed 40% for 3 seconds to get yourself out because you're not using Haunted Wave for escape. And in fact, standing there or trying to wiggle with your Haunting Wave is actually more dangerous versus auto attackers than just running the heck away at full speed. Then at level 20, you're possibly doing Dark Lady's Call, because you just want more mind controls for all those stacks.
Yeah, you want to talk about
a very fun way to play.
Yeah, you want to talk about a wildly short cooldown. Yeah, take Dark Lady's Call for sure. I can confirm. We got to do it during last week's Bonanza, and it was an absolute blast. I've always liked Sylvanas. She's always kind of been in my back pocket, but I've never considered her a main, if that makes sense.
How the mighty have fallen. Not in terms of balance over here at all. I just remember when Sylvanas came out, and there were a lot of Sylvanas' mains just because they loved her so much.
Oh yeah. I mean, she was an absolute lane bully, as well. She's really been retooled, but it's not a bad thing. I mean, God, when we look back at that Sylvanas from Specialist to Assassin rework, I think at the time we were like, wow, this is like one of the most ambitious reworks that's also a success we've ever seen. So, yeah, I like where she's at, for sure. But yeah, I don't know who my main is. I wanted to put more time into Toronto this week, and every time I got in, I was just like, let's try Zagara again and see if it clicks. I still believe, it's Toronto's turn to shine. She hasn't climbed too much, but she's doing well. She's up in the above 50% win rate crew.
Yep, I'm also shopping, but maybe for for viewers' delight at the moment, because I'm fully aware that I'm a Hanzo main in the working, and
Yeah.
that's how I'm gonna get back up there.
Yeah. The only we've been a little down on Mage today, and I think rightfully so. I think Dive is very much in, but Kel'Thuzad's buffs have yielded a noteworthy uptick in his win rate.
That's all right. Yeah, I've been seeing more of him.
He's got the same win rate as Falstad. Like, it's doing all right.
I would love to see Shifting Malice retooled to either be earlier or just lower cooldown. The bummers of perhaps a important talent like that are too high. At 240 seconds, you can do a vault that Vala can do.
That's how I feel about mind control and Sylvanas. Her win rate's nothing crazy. I think she's like a flat 50%. I wish it moved a little bit faster. That is a slow ass projectile.
And that's why you use it for stacks now, because you're going to use it on a tank, not like getting an assassin and being like, I got him. You just fire on the bruiser or whatever it is in front of you. And if it's unstoppable, who gives a darn? I think you still get the stacks, but I might be wrong about that.
Yeah.
I don't have a good way to test that.
Yeah, I still think the most fun I've had with this patch what is still, I think I mentioned this last week, was Kael'thas. Like, the Gravity Lapse changes are great. And like the most fun I was having was just turning off Frontline every single time, like clockwork. I had one game against a Diablo where just kept going in, doing his Diablo things, and before he could get his combo off, he was floating in the air. And it was just delightful. I didn't even win that game, but I had such a good time. But fun does not always equal win.
No. And you got to watch him because he's easy to play, but I too just enjoy the Kael'thas. He's a great hero to have in this game, and one of the many reasons why I would play this game over other MOBAs, because he's just dynamic and enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, let's shift gears for just a moment, because I don't know if you noticed what one of the most upvoted posts on the Heroes subreddit was this past week, or who posted it, but it was one Valkymer from our own Into the Nexus community. Has actually posted a second one, but the first Lieutenant Morales petition that Valk posted was very, very popular, and I think made a ton of sense, because the petition was for MULE to be on Morales.
Okay.
Valk makes a really good point. This is abandon mid-max, super serious stat crunching conversation. Can we?
Sure.
Because Valk's argument is very lore-based. Basically saying, you mean to tell me that a Zerg slug like Abathur has a mule, a Terran unit from StarCraft 2, and the Terran medic doesn't?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm trying to find it. This link is to the old one. If you're wondering why I'm...
It's linked right at the bottom of the post there.
Oh, there it is. I didn't see that. Cool. Yeah. Yep.
Now they're suggesting it at level 13. I do think that's an interesting idea. When does Abathur get his? Is it before that?
I honestly don't know. I just feel like it's the only option at whatever level it's at, because
7.
I always see mules when I see an Abathur.
Yeah, 7. I think so. The interesting thing about MULE is that it is required for a lot of macro games and long-winded play, which is what Abathur has become for that really, really late game hive mind input that he has a lot of the time, particularly with the spines healing so much transference at 13. And certainly as we enter a dive meta, oh my goodness, Abathur's going to make a big comeback as we start seeing gray mains and stuff like that enter the fray. Kerrigans and Uthers, and it could get really ugly. So what I'm curious about is, could we give that identity to someone else? Like, could we go really extreme with Abathur and say, no more buildings allowed, no hatting buildings. You're for heroes and you're for lanes.
Whoa,
and if it
okay,
ain't a person, why would you hat it?
This is not the direction I thought you were going to take this.
He is an assistance hero, yet he's assisting buildings and decreasing macro or increasing your side's resistance to things like Sky Temple so that he can prolong the game to a point where he then does the job that maybe he should have done in the first place. And in a feels good way, we all like seeing Abathur helping us, not off doing macro stuff.
I would just like to remind Abathur players listening that Kyle's Twitter is at Kyle Fergusson.
I'm aware that this is a big part of what you do in your management of the game. And I do think it provides kind of a StarCraft feel of healing this and dropping the mule over here and all that sort of business.
You're playing the whole map. Yeah, I'm with you there. I think playing Abathur feels a little bit, in a strange way, like playing StarCraft. Obviously, you have Vikings. Yeah. They definitely feel like playing StarCraft, but Abathur in his own macro sense feels like playing StarCraft as well. But yeah, I figured Valkyr was going to trigger your inner StarCraft lore nerd and go and just be like, yes, my goodness, I'm signing this petition.
I mean, I've wanted the mule to be themed for a long time. If we're not going to go down that route,
should be drop a drone.
Yeah, it could be a drone. Of course, they never heal anything. So just, have Abathur walk up and slap some, flex tape on that biz. A big old tumor on the side of a building that starts healing. Maybe he'd have to physically be there too. That'd be kind of interesting. But Mule on Morales is an interesting idea just because Mule on Abathur helps him reach the late game. I know that the sort of light rework we had to Morales recently got her away from being an early game hero and more to an all game hero. So is there something that Valkyr wants Morales to delay for? And I would say no, because late game healing turnoffs are in the late game, and Morales is going to suffer the longer the game goes. So Mule would actually be counteractive to what Morales is after, which is an early lead and an early win.
Okay. All right. So you brought sensible arguments to this conversation.
I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry. Now, thematically, I agree with you 100%.
Thematically, Mule is just weird. It is this weird. It is this leftover, this remnant of a HOTS long since past. It's just this leftover generic talent on a hero that it just thematically makes zero sense on. I don't think it really just comes down to the theming for me, because I don't think it's insane that Abathur can heal buildings. I think it's annoying, and frankly, I'm a little sick of it. I've been dealing with it for a really long time. But I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility when you think about the hero and its macro map-wide play. Being able to heal structures makes sense.
Yeah, and
but it's a freaking mule, Kyle.
I want to replace that ability with something thematic, maybe that exposes Abathur in that sort of new line of thought. Because if you just get rid of Mule, we've got either maybe a stab talent, a spike talent, both of which play into his extreme late game play, all the same, or they go Vile Nest. And I don't want to see Vile Nest everywhere. Frankly, it's upsetting when I just barely don't kill a building and have to back off to watch it return to full health. But at least I got walls and stuff up. 40% slow on the nest that I walk into. I don't want to live in that world either. And when we get to that sort of like, what sort of world do you want to live in? Well, then things get really strange. Like, should we overdraft and have this whole draft system where like everyone picks 7 heroes and then you can like trade them out when the game is over because now they have a last pick Abathur and things. The draft is a draft, and sometimes you lose it. And sometimes they get good macro heroes and avoid all your fights, and that's frustrating for what you've built. I'm not going to try to fix that problem.
You best start believing in nests, Kyle, because you're standing in one.
I think it's an interesting idea to move it to Morales. I just don't know what it accomplishes. Thematically, I'm all for it.
think we'd have to locate a talent tier where the talents aren't too important. Because you're not wrong. This is a deviation from Morales' game plan. But anyways, congrats on all your karma, Valk. God, it was fun to go over there. You'd be like, damn, this thing took off. And then looking at it like, oh, it's Valk. Nice. Sick. Great. Good job. Good job, everybody. Well, speaking of everybody, let's hear from everybody and take an email or two.
Darkness stopped calling.
Does anyone else hear that buzzing?
Hold on. Darkness just texted me.
You can send your emails to itncast@gmail.com, and if you're supporting us on Patreon, well, you can just write us on Patreon, on the Discord, wherever you want. Send a carrier pigeon. You know how delighted I would be if that actually happened?
That'd be pretty cool.
Pigeons, I don't know. How does that work? Is anyone here into carrier pigeons? Can you send them to someone?
They probably have a range.
Who doesn't have a way to receive said carrier pigeon? Will it just like hang out on my doorstep?
I think we had the Pony Express.
Ah.
That was our American version because, Europe, it's a little tighter. Have you seen the size of Texas?
I assume it's just a thing in New York because both Spider-Man and Insomniac games have you collecting carrier pigeons.
I was watching, interesting. John Wick, maybe. I was watching a documentary and I looked it up recently. Great Britain is the size of Mississippi.
I don't mean to stop this dead in our tracks, but what the hell made you think of that?
Well, because I was watching the documentary and they were talking about Victorian times and they were like, we got to get these chickens all the way from Bristol and then they got to come here and get the thing. And I was like, okay, hang on, come on. Like, we all know, like, let's get some American know-how in here. I mean that in like, I need American like inches instead of metric system to understand this. And I needed to know, like, is it really going that far? And they're talking about like the train system, how amazing it was. But I mean, we had Wild West trains that were going, days. So, yeah.
Everything in America is bigger and better, is all you need to say.
That's all I'm saying.
You can't fit our trucks on your tiny roads.
It's true.
I don't know why. I don't know why I'm dragging the UK right now.
Because Mississippi's a state, and that's their whole place. That's all we're saying. We're not.
That's kind of cool, though. Imagine how much traveling you could get done. Anyways, send your emails to itncast@gmail.com or write us in the Patreon Discord. Corny and Dom Scythe had very similar suggestions, questions, commentary. Corny wrote, what if Viral Infection was like butcher meat and you unlocked it when you got X amount of stacks? And Dom Scythe wrote, what if there was a type of talent that gave you an extra reward if you met a requirement before you got to its level? Zebo stacks being one example. Went on to say something like you have 200 meat before level 13 with Butcher, the talent Cleaver deals 15% more damage, or if May has self-healed/shielded 10k, or whatever number makes sense, by level 7, backup battery gives 33% max health over 2 seconds, yada, yada, yada. But we're both messing with questing, essentially.
So if Butcher wasn't done with meat before 13, he'd never get that bonus?
Not the way I read it. Let's say if you have 200 meat before level 13 with Butcher, the talent Cleaver deals 15% more damage. So it's almost like a challenge. You actually want to stack faster.
But if I failed, I wouldn't want to pick Cleaver anymore because I'm missing out on the 15% bonus damage. I feel like I failed, right?
That's kind of my thought, yeah.
I mean, of course I still could. I love Cleaver. I think Cleaver is amazing.
So instead of Gambit talents, would we call this a bummer talent?
I mean, would it like, like when you advance the story too much in like The Witcher and it goes quest failed, and you didn't know, you were just going to go find your daughter? I don't know. It's just like locked out and all red.
Guess so. I mean, I don't think it would lock it out. It would just be an additional bonus, right? But that's an interesting one because you would need to have meta knowledge of that talent before you get there. Gambit, you're opting in because you're potentially, at least you have the chance to read the Gambit bit before you actually click and select the talent. So at least with Dom Scythe's suggestion, that's an interesting bit. That's kind of my hesitation there, is this requires, while interesting and while certainly would add like yet another knob that could be turned, right? Yet another tool in the balancing tool chest. I don't think I'm in love with how much pre-knowledge you would need to have.
So what's the one for May here? May, by level 7, backup battery gets 30% more health over 2 seconds.
If May has self-healed or shielded, let's just call it X amount of damage. By level 7, backup battery gives 33% max health over 2 seconds. Basically, if you've done enough things early enough in the game, a talent ahead of you gets more power.
Yeah, so they're like challenges, almost like game-long achievements. It's a really cool idea. And I'm not going to immediately bang the drum over here of like, that makes people play bad. I don't give a damn. If it's fun to do, it's fun to do. And jumping into the whole enemy team and then jumping in your ice shield and saying, haha, you messed up. I'm going to get a cool talent later. Like, worse things have happened.
Yes. I do think... Oh, God, this is just leave the tilt, though. Like, if you don't get it, you'd be mad at yourself or your teammates would be mad at you for not doing enough to get the extra power, what have you, if it becomes a meta way to build, is my thought. Let's circle back to Corny's tangentially related suggestion, which is, what if Vile Infection was like Butcher Meat and you unlocked it when you got X amount of stacks? So let's just, Vile Infection, no longer a level 20. You get enough stacks. Here it is. You got it. Congratulations. Enjoy.
Be nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty. Butcher stacks are like that. I mean, hell, even Zul'Jin's auto attack, it's baked in like that.
It's certainly not impossible to do. It's very easy to, with particularly the quick match build that I enjoy running with the zombie uproot to just bomb and run a lane and keep moving.
Yeah.
I'd be really interested to see Vile Infection reward. After reaching 175 stacks of Voodoo Ritual, it can also be applied to heroes, and its damage is increased from 67 to 167 over 6 seconds. This is an interesting... So could we reach a point where Vile Infection would be completed in a range that would be sane for Nazeebo to join the 5-stack? And let's get rid of the bonus damage. Just applying that poison enemies sounds like a lot of fun in the first place. I don't need this. I don't need this throughput if I don't have to wait to 20.
Well, that's one way you could balance it, right? I mean, you could also increase how many stacks you need to complete it. You could decrease that damage increase, right? Like, it doesn't have to be that high. There's a lot of different ways you could go about it. I'm curious why you jumped straight to the screw the extra throughput. Don't need it.
Well, just because it doesn't apply any poison damage to heroes in the first place. So getting the damage, getting my auto attack passive to deal hero damage at an earlier level than 20 is enough of a reward for me. And I would love to see Vile Infection worked into a baseline quest if that was the case. Because then I can say, I'm done. World's changed now. Let's go do this other thing. Right now, the reward for overstacking isn't as great. And then I have to join team fight. So let's say it's level 16 and I'm done. I double soaked maybe. I got done at like 13 or something crazy. The reward for me going and joining those team fights without that Vile Infection in tow is not rewarded.
I really like the idea of freeing up 20 on Nazeebo.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't think I have anything additional to add on a technical level like you did. So like my brain goes more to, Courtney, I like this idea and would be very interested to see what the HOTS devs, how they would implement this, how they would balance essentially a baseline unlockable Vile Infection that is not
and then we'd have
tied
to
to
get
a
rid of it
talent
at
tier.
20. I would not want to see a talent here that then says, increase the damage should you have completed a Vile Infection. Then we're right back to where we were.
Yeah, that just... maybe a boring talent.
Yeah.
Interesting thoughts. Thanks, Corny. Thanks, Dom Scythe. Brandon, 0706. This is Brandon 1 through 0705 was taken. Writes in and says, Me and a friend are really interested in getting better at the game and want to start playing Storm League, but after our placements, I'm low gold and he's low bronze. Ah, classic. Brandon continues saying, we feel like we know the game pretty well, but with a lower elo like this, we get stuck with people who A, don't, and B, think they do, so they won't take our advice. Any tips on hero combos that we could duo carry with to climb to a rank more fit for our game knowledge? We get this question a lot, Kyle.
Yeah.
I think I'm at a point where if you're gold bronze, you're probably averaging out the silver, I would assume. And if it's low bronze, yeah, you might even get some bronzers in there. I think I've done the at least silver to platinum climb enough times that I don't think duos matter. Get good at individual heroes, play those individual heroes that you were good at, and style on the opponents.
That's kind of the truth of it.
There
really.
is a focus in this email on the other players that seems telling to me.
Well, so your classic combos have since been, if not, directly balanced in this way, like Tassadar Tracer to remove said combos, have been kind of reined in. And it's tough to find something that is truly unreal carry potential that doesn't leave holes in you. And that's a great design philosophy and well on them. It does suck for your situation a little bit. So that comes up, a classic, if you will, Varian Li Ming with the taunt and the Li Ming squaring up on them. You delete targets. And that can work, but you're now burdened with a lack of healing, particularly for that Li Ming who might be receiving poke. So, going to 3 men would help that out, but now your solo lane's failing. And ultimately, I do have to agree with Garrett here that your throughput and impact on the individual heroes will have a greater edge on the game. And being effective with your time is perhaps the best thing you could do here. So adding your weight, whatever that combo is, you both go do the bottom camp on Towers of Doom together. You both then return immediately to the bottom lane, and you keep that energy down there regardless of where everyone else goes, hoping you can build gravity. Because if you try to cover all the jobs at once, that's not how Heroes was designed. And it'll just tilt you more and more the more you try.
Yeah. It's you can get cute and like, listen, if you mentioned Tracer Tassadar as an example, it's like if you are both individually good with those two heroes, that's great. That they also just happen to synergize well.
Well, more so in the past when the shielding healing.
Yeah, but Tracer is not a bad hero right now, and neither is Tassadar. So it's just, I've always done the climb by being able to punish the mistakes I see my opponents making, because your opponents are making mistakes. And if you are not playing heroes that do not let you punish those mistakes, it doesn't matter how cute your duo is.
And for your bronze and gold there, have a macro advantage is your best way to climb. Because I don't want to ignore your question here and frustrate anybody. Be like, listen, I want some cool duos, and they're talking about all this other stuff. There are very cool duos out there. There are very unique duos, and a lot of them are going to go in more of the healer assassin or tank assassin kind of way. But what I would rather see you guys do is just own that map with macro and move faster and have more moves planned in the in-between than your opponents do. And in that way, you could draft super aggressive things like Kharazim, but you might confuse your draft. So instead, think about what clears a camp the fastest. What allows you to lane clear and then be other places instead. And the whole point of lane clear is so you're done, so you can do camps. And you're done so you can be at objectives. So I would say double draft lane clear first, and that lane clear will also equal camp clear. And you will bring so much power in that way that your team will just always be ahead, always pushed out. So you probably want to be more creative and more gentlemanly, perhaps, than just saying, oh, hey, we're the assassins here. We're duo spec. We're both going assassin. it's not a bad idea if you bring the lane clear.
Yeah. Which, so at least one of you should be eyeballing solo laners. And if one of you already are kind of pulled in that direction, then cool.
It could help out, but I do think that causes an isolation where you don't actually interact with each other too much. Plus, then the gold isn't helping out the bronze in this way to climb. Man, what a pickle that is, because that is such a huge range of skill that you're seeing. And the tank is now open, and the tank's bronze, or the solo lane's open, now the solo lane's bronze. And that's why I'm saying lane clear, because the more they're pushed out, the less that tank death matters. The faster you can cover the solo lane.
I would... one of you get really good at Kerrigan or Sonya and just murder someone that makes a mistake. This is always my... You trying to get the platinum? There you go.
I do, mouthfeel, like any of these that get really easy quick deletes can do quite a bit. You could also go the global route. Maybe that's where our current meta might be better served, is something like Brightwing that's more dedicated to the assassin or the bruiser that you're picking. So at least you're seeing each other regularly.
I think that's solid if you're gonna do a damage healer combo. But beyond that, Brightwing's down. Not feeling so hot, and I don't know. That is a passive hero in my opinion.
Perhaps the more actionable advice is map picks. Because when we say map picks, we're often talking about macro and objective based influences. And if you bring two of those to a map, hell yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot for silver.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Good point. Well, let us know what you end up going with. Brandon, maybe put a mind to it in Kyle's mind and put a mind to it in mine. Like, I want you to ask yourself, who do I just own with? Both of you, and see what answers you come up with. And then, also try Kyle's more complementary duo style and see what you come up with. Would really like to know where you end up.
Yeah.
The letter B writes in, just B. It says, ITN, I was just thinking, or I've been thinking this for a while when checking HOTS logs for the top builds. Most, if not all, of the highest win percentage builds have fewer games played than a build that has a bit lower win percentage, but many more games played. Basically saying the highest win rate builds tend to not be the most picked builds. That's what B is writing here. If we're going to blindly pick the best build, we should likely focus on a build that has the most games played with the highest win percentage. That seems like the one that's the most likely to work for us, no? For instance, I should probably take a 52% win rate build that has 1,000 games played rather than a 56% win rate build that only has 100 games played. I happen to have Hanzo's page pulled up and included a screenshot, for example, and show that the most played build has a 52% win rate, but there's another build with 142 games played that has a 55% win rate.
Yes.
There's a lot to unpack here. Because there's certain builds that counter certain situations or are applicable to certain battlegrounds.
Yeah, I think I know where this is coming from, because we do tend to say now the highest win rate build and then talk about the highest. And in that, we skip over the fact that it's not the most games played. So that is a distinction we can make more in the future. I know most recently I was talking about Nazeebo with this and saying the highest win rate build has Superstition. But that's 40 spell armor if you're not basic attacked. So in these extreme situations where Superstition becomes good, Nazeebo has a very high chance to win because the situation is present, which is probably double mage or just a lack of auto attack poke that's threatening Nazeebo, or any threats to Nazeebo in the first place that don't require ice block.
Right. So those are the types of situations that you should take a look at. And if you're using HOTS logs, you could also try scrolling back up and filtering by battleground and seeing and keeping an eye out for some of these builds. If you're trying to figure out if they're like battleground specific, they may also be comp or certain picks on the enemy team specific as well. But all of these things need to be taken with a certain degree of a grain of salt.
But I do agree. We can make a better effort in the future to highlight both the highest pick rate and the highest win rate build. Because here, for instance, on Nazeebo, which is such a good extreme, as is the Hanzo example they provided, we're seeing a very different build at the very top, as opposed to something that is way more effective straight down the middle. And here with Hanzo, I can definitely say that they're all called dragon things. Hang on. Okay, Stormbow build is just more effective on more types of maps, but you're going to have very high win rates in certain places with things like a scatter arrow build, such as Battlefield of Eternity.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, like, look at, every hero is different, but look at where are the builds diverging, right? Like, is it something like Kerrigan, like 13, where it's all like this forced survivability? Because you go look at Kerrigan, almost all the builds are identical. And the only thing that like breaks them up is that 13. Like, because some people are going Chrysalis, some people are going Volatile Power. Any deviation is going to cause another build, which is also one of the most common questions we get into Hot Slogs is, why is there no 20 on builds? And it's because it would just fragment the builds by however many 20s there are. Where, like,
I'm not...
What?
I don't even think we could find something that would have the top build on top, because this is how they balance. Like, they look at this exact data, not the exact data we see, but they definitely favor the talents and the talent builds that are on top. If it's the winniest build in the whole thing, they're going to take that down a notch. But if you see a high win rate on a rare build, they also look at it the same way and say, oh, yeah, with a special situation arise.
It also could be a candidate in that case for underpicked talent rework, because they might go, hey, something's working here, but it hasn't, taken on by the masses. Maybe if we throw just a little bit more spice at it, people will pay attention, and then we'll work it back to a place where it's balanced once it gets some community uptake. I don't think they've ever admitted to doing it. They've said that they have tried to bring attention to things, for sure. I'm taking it a little bit further. I'm not saying that that's not a direct quote from anyone that's ever been a developer for Heroes of the Storm, but I could see them absolutely doing that.
Some heroes just have a severe lack of builds, which is only the really place I'm seeing this convergence, like Genji or Junkrat, where the highest win rate build is also very, very close to the top, just because so many talents go unpicked.
Yeah. No, and Gazlo, I think, would have been a good example until the most recent patch, where I think the most played build is also the highest win rate build. It does happen, and that's when we tend to see nerfs, as you mentioned. So, yeah, I would say if you are noticing this and actively looking out for it to be, I think you're already in a good headspace. Yeah, like there's these are tools to help guide you. They're not, none of these things are set in stone. There's rarely a build that's always good for all situations. But there's certain heroes that, hi Kerrigan, that basically stay the same all the time. The exceptions to that statement. So anyways, it's an interesting thought. Taraz wrote in, Kyle, and says, I am not 100% on this because testing is not really that easy, but just like the Brightwing Polygon ETC, while he moshes if you teleport in, I think a flying in Falstad can attach his lightning rod while flying, even if he flies directly through or directly into the mosh. I know that mosh doesn't interrupt lightning rod for whatever reason, and I think you can actually just W on ETC before landing without having to shift command it. Is this true? I didn't know this. Does anyone know this? Can anyone confirm in chat?
If you were in the mosh pit, you cannot activate W. Your buttons would be grayed out.
That's not what they're saying, though. They're saying that if you had it activated and then got stuck in the mosh pit, it'll keep going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Huh.
It's like a connected channel. It has nothing to do with an active channel, so no stun will interrupt the W.
Oh, yeah. Well, because, if it's like connected to an Uther and the Uther stuns you, it keeps going, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's the same behavior. Okay, never mind.
But during Falstad's heyday, particularly when that build was not only bugged, but extremely powerful with the dishonorable discharge, there was some call for that to be cleaned up and that a stun would stop lightning rod. And it might be a cleaner interaction than, there are a lot of inconsistencies in that way. that heroes have very unique things about them. I'm actually in try mode here, and you can activate it extremely quickly with the shift command. So I don't doubt that you could prepare a W, land, and have the wiggle room to cast it before the repeat channel of the mosh pit hits you.
Gotcha. Taraz also had just a follow-up question. Said, I've never bothered to check this. Is Falstad unstoppable when he flies, or can he get stunned or voided midair if he happens to go through no-fly territory? I don't know if he's considered unstoppable, but he doesn't get stopped by things. Like, you can fly over, like, an entangling roots, for example.
Yeah, I don't think this has changed. Maybe the chat can help us out with this. There was, talk, particularly in more Abathur Nest heydays, that you would hit all the mines along your travels. And certainly if you fly over buildings, they will take a shot at you before you land.
Oh, is Falstad?
Yeah. So if I go flying over a tower here, they might think about hitting me.
Okay, so you're not uninteractable, but I also don't... The words unstoppable don't show up.
No, they do not.
But you are essentially unstoppable.
And the building you'd have to fly over very particularly. So like these buildings, they don't even look at me in the try mode. I don't know.
I was about to say, I'm not sure I've ever noticed that. He can get hit by skill shots too. Oh, interesting. So he can be damaged, but he cannot be CC'd.
Yeah. So he's in a unique state. I'm gonna fly over a fort here and see if it likes me. No, the buildings leave me alone. So that must have been an old feature, or if it was one at all.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think this is one of those unique ones. I wonder what this is referred to internally.
Falstad's fly, I guess. It's such an extreme case, right?
Yeah, can be damaged but can't be stopped. Interesting. Good question, Taraz. And then we got another one for Dom Scythe before we end here. Wants to know what our favorite heroes announcers, what are our favorite heroes or announcers from a voice acting perspective? Are there any heroes you want to like more because of their lines, but can't because of their style? All right, Kyle, you are a voice acting snob. I'm gonna come out and say it. You're one of the most passionate voice acting enthusiasts I know.
Too bad I'm terrible with names and actor names, but yes, I do have heavy opinions. And I do think that in a lot of cases, a language that isn't your native language makes a bad movie better, such as most anime, I would assume. But also, have you ever watched the Warcraft movie in another language? It's so much better.
Why?
Because there's a disconnect where what's being said is more important than the acting. And a lot of people are feeling this too when it comes to World of Warcraft versus Final Fantasy. I'm going to take us on that little journey for just a moment. It's not going to be full blown. Because Final Fantasy dialogue is presented in a sentence by sentence case with maybe multiple characters talking rather than one big quest block, a lot of people feel it's better acted or it's more interactive and even better written, when in fact, in some cases, the writing may be exactly on par. One's just segmented in such a way that gives your character a chance to react in your head. So,
I guess that's fair.
The quest says, go over the hill, won't you? Here's the coordinates in a World of Warcraft text. But then in a Final Fantasy text, it says, go over the hill, pause, won't you? And then you go, oh yeah, I'm going to click confirm. I'm agreeing to this quest. And then they give me information as though I said something. I've role played. At any rate, where was I going with this?
I don't know. All I know is I don't like subtitles because I don't like reading while I'm watching something.
Right. My counterpoint will always be, if it was great, you'd watch it again.
I don't have that much time.
There's so few great things in the world. You should watch good things again rather than watching multiple bad things.
Boy, I just made sense why you watch almost nothing new.
It's true. It's true, because I'd rather watch the things I already like. It's the same reason that, I play the video games I like, because I know they're already good. At any rate.
Oh, my God.
Diva is a full disconnect from what I want in my voice acting to the gameplay style, because if it was different, it would just be gritty mech action. So this is taking it in a negative way first, because this is the most extreme I feel in the game right now.
Why are you dragging my girl Diva? I love Diva.
Because I think that the whole fantasy of driving a robot that you then explode and possibly, even though I don't take the Talon, shoot to make it explode faster and then jump out as a pilot with a gun and go pew, 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 and roll around and stuff is so awesome. And it could be so like Warhammer / mech assault, like gritty and cool. But it's like, I play to win. And it's just, it's not. The fantasy is so broken, yet it's so cool.
It's not the fantasy you want.
Yes.
It's a very specific fantasy.
And not that gritty has to be like, it's not like Diva, the exact actor would have to be like, lost my whole team out there. It's rough going at it on your own, like real dead serious. But I would enjoy that.
All right, let's talk about what you do like then.
Okay. I really like Hanzo's voice lines. I equipped the announcer for quite a few heroes, including Uther and others that even have announcers that I could use, just because I think he sounds handsome and he inspires me to do great things.
He sounds like a corny anime voice actor, and that does not surprise me at all that that's what you like.
Maybe.
It's like your brand distilled.
There are quite a few heroes that I just run the Butcher announcer on, just because I just want to be encouraged with grunts and blood and stuff. And I don't really need it to like role play or make any sense.
That's how I feel about it, because I don't speak Spanish. I love El Guapo, though.
Yeah.
Among my favorite announcers, because it's just so energetic and frenetic. That just makes me want to go, and whoop up on some folks.
As for like direct heroes that have a great set of lines, but I don't really like their style, at the moment, Imperius is high on that list.
Oh, I like Imperius's voice actor.
Oh, no, I'm saying I'm matching what Dom here has asked for. That I like the voice acting, but the kit I'm not so much for.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right. Yeah, there. I'm with you. Yeah, 'cause I also don't love playing Imperius, but I love his whole demeanor. He's such a great heel.
Yeah, his valor, and it's complicated in a slightly honorable way while also being blind. It's classic Paladin, where you've gone so lawful good, you're now the law, and it's bad.
Yeah. Leo's great, but I don't play him except into Cho'Gall.
Leo is great. I just enjoy Leo, so it doesn't quite match this the switcheroo here we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you're really just asking me like who my favorite characters at the Blizzard Sphere is, because like Tychus is probably right at the top. Some of my favorite lines, one of my favorite voices in anything Blizzard related. Some good stuff. You know who's underrated? Who I play a lot of, but I don't think of the voice all that much, is Sonya. Sonya has some great lines.
She does.
Johanna as well, now that I think about it. Some subtle awesomeness there.
Johanna's lines, maybe with time, more so, but are about as boring as she is.
I don't know. Johanna. It's very. I want to say Boy Scout. It's like Superman. Johanna's very like I'm waiting for Johanna to Captain America go language.
I think you're right.
I like that. I love that archetype.
But Captain America's more in that sort of Rainier camp where he's going to go out there and he's going to get a bloody nose and he's going to do all he can and fight it to the very end. Johanna's absolutely the Superman type where like, what's going to be the problem? Really particular rocks, but otherwise invincible. And the crusade calls. It sure does. Have a good day out there saving the universe with whatever you do. But Batman's way more interesting because he has to get creative. You know, he's got to solve problems as he goes. I don't think I've ever seen a superhero film where like we go in Superman's head and he's like, man, I really gotta decide between like super windy breath or cold breath or ice eyes or laser eyes. Which does bring me to the only redeeming picture I love, of Superman, which is Justice League, because I do get chills at the idea that Superman's always holding back and he could destroy the universe by, kicking too hard. So he has to. There's rarely a fight when he can actually let loose. That's an interesting. It's totally like it's such a playground struggle. No, my tragedy is I'm too powerful, but it can be portrayed in a really interesting way.
It's literally every single one of us when we go, oh, I have so many games I haven't played in my Steam library. You know what? I would have killed for that problem in my childhood.
Right.
Absolutely would have died to be in that position. And here I am, like, oh, gee, sorry. Yeah. It's an interesting thought. Oh, you know who I absolutely dump on, but the line delivery is just freaking chef's kiss? Anduin.
Yeah.
That is some ass role play.
By the way, there's a bug on Anduin right now.
Oh, I haven't heard about this.
If you throw I haven't done this myself, but I've heard about it. You throw the Divine Star, and if through the opening gate, and if you catch it as the gate opens or the game starts or something along those lines, you can have your sword out the whole game.
Oh,
since he puts his sword away and back, it's not malicious.
There's no benefit. It just looks cool.
No. Okay. Instead of doing like the goofy, I'll get you out of there, like little jog he does, you have your sword out and you look a little cooler all the time. So lots of people do this in order to just feel a little more awesome.
Dev note in the next patch that just says this is a feature, not a bug, and keep it in forever.
Or it is the World of Warcraft hero. Like, let me hit a button and pull that sword out myself.
Oh, yeah, just put it on a key.
Yeah, like Z or X, or I usually put mine on Z.
It's default on Z, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. My most used announcer is Adjutant. I think I've talked about this before, but I love Wings of Liberty so damn much that I like pretending I'm still playing it.
It was a good game.
It was a very strong RTS campaign.
Yeah.
It was a good one. I did not love Legacy of the Void.
It went too cosmic.
It got too over-the-top anime by the end.
Like, I think the beginning is extremely strong. I think the bad guy, who I forget, is his name Amon?
Yeah, Amon.
Oh, okay. Because that name was also using Kira, I believe, or Legend of Korra.
Oh, Legend of Korra. Was it? Oh, was that Amon?
That was also Amon. And he was also made of, like, red energy, so I get confused sometimes.
Whoa, it was Amon.
At any rate, yeah, like that, the beginning and the plight of Artanis, who is basically like Optimus Prime fighting Megatron, like that's all really cool. But, Space Kerrigan and our loss of like humanity kind of storyline. And even I really like Heart of the Swarm in the beginning. Those are some really interesting Chris Metzen interviews, by the way, that Scott Johnson did about why that story reflected Chris's life and his time at Blizzard.
Yeah.
Amon,
by the way, was the first villain in Korra that just wore the mask. That wasn't the cosmic villain.
Yeah, whatever the space kite was.
That season was cooler, like on paper, than it was to kind of watch play out.
The first season of Korra is so awesome, it just gets nullified. Is kind of my problem.
Oh god, I like every season for different reasons. Amon is the villain of the first one is my favorite.
Yeah, Steve Blum out there doing his evil thing.
Oh yeah, just phenomenal. That is still a cosplay I want to make, like big time. It also just looks comfortable.
Yeah, the cosplay comfiness has definitely escalated.
Dude, when I did that Stormtrooper for Celebration almost 5 years ago now, that is not comfortable.
Okay, I honestly didn't know. I didn't know.
Horrible. I guess they've figured out better ways to build them now. But I was wearing an old school build where the midsection doesn't move. You can't sit.
Yeah, that would get wearing.
Yeah, it's rough. Looked dope though. Absolute bucket list. But yeah, that's it. I'm trying to think if there's any other announcer that I'm just like head over heels.
Alarak for me. I use that one a lot.
Oh, Alarak, he is so sassy.
Yeah.
He is such an ass. And I don't know why I love that, but you're right. I also use Alarak a decent amount.
Oh, he's great. It's such a great archetype, but also that voice actor just does that. I'm forgetting his name. John Delancey? Is that one? No. Who plays Alarak?
It is John Delancey, according to Kajitar.
Okay, yeah. Does a great job. Basically did the exact same thing in Star Trek, did the exact same thing in XCOM 2. I'm pretty sure it's basically the same thing from any cartoon he's ever been, and I've heard he's like the main villain in My Little Pony.
What?
Yeah, like that Friendship is Magic show. Like he shows up like when Alarak came out, My Little Pony was big to kind of put a date to it, and lots of people were like, oh, "That's the guy from My Little Pony." I'm like, "It's what? What? It's the Star Trek guy. What's everyone talking about?"
I haven't seen almost any Next Generation, so John Delancey's work as Q is lost on me.
It's a lot of fun. Of course, Star Trek's more of like a mind game kind of show, which is always interesting because any of their guns, lasers, ships can instantly destroy planets. So everything becomes a mind game instead. And I think that's an interesting dynamic.
Given what you just said about Superman, that does not surprise me in the least.
Yeah, there we go.
You gotta hold back. Too powerful. That's what he was in Breaking Bad. Who was he in Breaking Bad?
Who's Breaking Bad?
John Delancey was in Breaking Bad.
Oh.
I just forget who he played.
He was also in Crank.
Welcome to the end of the show, everybody, where we are going completely off the rails.
Wait, he was in Multiplicity? That's a fun movie. I don't know how it's aged. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Oh, the girl's dead. The air traffic. Oh, yep. I remember now. Yep. It's important that he's an air traffic controller.
Oh, he also plays Brainiac on Justice League. So, like, that's actually the exact same character type, too.
Oh, delightful. Well done. Well done, John Delancey.
You go get him. You go get him.
You know who I use a ton is Kel'Thuzad, because Kel'Thuzad's just a big old ham. I have I use the Kel'Thuzad announcer a ton.
And like all the actors you hear over time, like the Uther, I'm pretty sure Uther Kel'Thuzad's the same guy. Is that correct?
I believe you are correct. Which now makes me want a non-Lich King Arthas, because I love Paladin Arthas's ham so much.
But like you go back and you play Diablo 2 and he walks up to you and he's like, "Greetings, welcome to the camp." And you're like, "Oh my God, you haven't aged a day." Where it's really impressive. Like, go watch original, like Tom Hanks, Toy Story 1, and then 4 or whatever we're on now. Yeah, Mark Hamill. Oh my God. That voice has changed a bit.
His normal voice, yeah. He still does a mean Joker.
Oh, well, absolutely.
His Joker is still absolutely A+ on point.
Oh, the Joker just ages like fine wine. The more he goes, like the more insane he is.
Let's be honest. So is Mark. Mark Hamill's normal speaking voice is dope.
It is. I agree. Harrison Ford. Now that thing's gone like way too far.
Oh no, I love it.
That's just like it's like so.
Oh no, disagree. Agree to disagree. I love old cranky Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford has reached his final form. I love it. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful.
I just want him to be happy.
I bring on de-aged Harrison Ford in the next Indiana Jones movie.
It's the tech of the time.
The way of the future, I guess.
They should just put it on the box at this point. It's starting to be a bit much. It's like, see, remember army tech? Like we managed to make a whole army that clashes and actively interacts with one another using our technology. And now it's just like, come see how we made actor young again. And they think we're impressed. Move on. I'm ready. I'm ready for more.
Same. I was ready for a recast Luke. I was ready for it. I would have accepted it. I've been like, cool.
More puppets.
Let's move
more
on.
Puppets.
More puppets. All right.
More puppets.
Can't tell. We're done with the show. Write in, folks. ITNcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do here at Into the Nexus and you want to support us, well, you can become a patron for just $1 or more. It's entirely up to you. We have levels preset, but you can enter whatever amount works for you over at patreon.com/ITN. And support us here. Let us, take the time to craft a good show for you. And we want to thank our Patreon producers. Thank you to Declan H., Chris K., Sean B., and Mike R. We have one slot left if you want to become a producer. Thank you each and every show. You can find out more over at patreon.com/ITN. Reminder, we're doing a bonanza next week because I am traveling at the end of the month, so I'm going to have a bunch of crunch that final week. So I was like, Kyle, can we do an earlier bonanza than usual? And you obliged. So
let's do it next week.
Game night next Thursday. If you are a patron or you're going to become one within the next week, head on over to patreon.com/ITN. Look for that bonanza sign-up post and sign up to come hang out and play some games of Heroes of the Storm with Kyle and myself. You can catch us live Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time right here on twitch.tv/AMoveTV. You can follow the show on Twitter at ITNcast, and you can find even more of Kyle and me talking to each other about video games that are not Heroes of the Storm on Nexus Gaming News, our new gaming news podcast that is also a fully fledged YouTube channel over at youtube.com/AMoveTV, complete with like legitimate visual aids and editing, and it looks nice.
Footage.
Yeah. So if you want to know what the hell this Choo Choo Charles is, it's absolute nightmare fuel that I kind of want to play. Our most recent episode will learn you good. But Kyle, where can folks find you?
You find me on many projects. I talked today about Pokemon Unite. You can find my Pokemon Unite podcast at AO's Clubhouse with Kai Berries and Mockery. However, the thing I'm most proud of right now, outside of Nexus Gaming News, of course, and this fine show, and, you know, my own life, and I'm proud
Stop
of
quantifying it. What are you excited about?
I'm excited about the final season and the final wrap-up of There Will Be Dungeons, the live play D&D 5th edition show that I DM over on the Frog Pants Network. We've got 3 episodes left till the final episode of the final season. There have been 3 seasons. It's all coming to a close with a big, big boss fight coming up. I'm super excited about it. I might kill all my players, and that would be a fabulous ending. Check it out over on the Frog Pants Network. There Will Be Dungeons.
I'm on Twitter at Garrett Art. This podcast and every single other one that I do can be found at amove.tv. And, well, other than that, listen to Nexus Gaming News and check out my portfolio site because I recently fixed it up, added a bunch of new work, both video and graphic design. It's createwithgarrett.com. You can hire me there to make stuff for you. I don't have an assistant. It's just me by my lonesome making stuff. So if you use that contact form, I'll see it. I'll be the one reading it and answering stuff. So go check it out. Made myself a new logo, Kyle. It's fun.
Very nice. You're good at
I
logos.
love when I get a peek into what you're going to be like when your child shows you things that he's very excited about. You're going, very nice. I just imagine you responding to Flynn that way.
I do. I try to avoid autopilot as much as possible. But sometimes when you're being run through the 4th version of T-Rex and that they have claws and feet, you're like, yeah. So, I can go over to your site. What's your site?
Oh, it wasn't goading you into it. All right, sure. Go right now. Createwithgarrett.com.
Create with Garrett. Okay.
.com.
All right.
Yep. Top right corner. Go take a look at it. It's great for the audio audience.
Oh, this is great, man.
All 3 of them that are still listening.
I really like the Florida vibe you got going on with the teal and the pink together.
Oh, thanks.
There.
Yeah. Florida vibe. Oh, I like that. Okay.
The big dash kind of suggests that what I get back will be fast and they'll be sleek.
Ooh, not at all what I was, thinking. I just thought it looked cool, but
yeah, no, it's hauling ass.
Voldwin in the chat room says, don't worry, I'm still here and also on your site. Thanks, Voldwin. Well, folks, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Into the Nexus. We are rapidly approaching 400. So, yeah. I don't have a thing for that.
We will when we get there.
You know what? Let's do this. I've got a thing for it now. I want to know your favorite Into the Nexus memory.
Oh.
400 episodes. All right? Feed my ego just a little bit. 400 episodes. We deserve it. Just a bit. Just write in, itncast@gmail.com. Let us know, what is your favorite Into the Nexus memory? Could be little, could be small. Maybe you stalked one of us for a while and we didn't know it. Let us know. Out yourself as a stalker. itncast@gmail.com.
Okay.
That's going to do it for this episode. We'll see you next week. But until then, good luck and have fun, everyone.
Take care.